Hey, welcome back to the Ebook revolution in Nanowrimo. We're getting into it. What is it? Day 10 as I record this. So National Novel Writing Month is a third over. I'll be talking more about that in a minute. I don't know about you. I sort of feel like I've woken up with the rest of the world, with the world's biggest Trump over. It's a strange world. It's a beautiful day outside. The sun's shining. The dolphins are swimming. The seagulls are squawking. The tourists are happy. But why do I feel something's not quite right? Well, we're all going to find out one way or the other. But let's not talk politics. It's depressing enough, and I've resolved to turn the damn news off. It's I was quite transfixed with the presidential election. And especially yesterday, watching the results come in while I was trying to work. And I didn't get much work done. But happily, NaNoWriMo did provide me a lovely escape from reality. And so I'll be plugging along the next 20 days as we keep these updates going. And this edition of the Ebook Revolution podcast is brought to you by Scrivener, the software made for writers and made by writers for writers. Discover why writers like Joanna Penn, Geoff Goins and Michael Hyatt are able to generate so much content so quickly. It's no big secret. It's because they use Scrivener. And I use it too. I use it. I love it. You will too. You will never use Microsoft Word again once you see the power of Scrivener. Whether you're writing a novel, a blog, or even non-fiction, Scrivener makes writing a breeze. It organises your research in one place, keeps track of drafts and corrections, even characters and places, and it's fun to use. Scrivener. Find out more and start turbocharging your writing today. You can get your copy at ebookrevolutionpodcast.com/Scrivener for Mac or ebookrevolutionpodcast.com/Scrivener for Windows. That's SCRIVENER, Scrivener. So ebookrevolutionpodcast.com/Scrivener for Mac or Scrivener for Windows. Let's get on with the show. And where are we? We're in NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, Day 10, as I record this update from the trenches. And I've undertaken to blog about it and podcast about it. Try to do one podcast a week, so we've only got a couple more. I just want to share what I learned from the experience, and hopefully you find that useful if you're currently doing Scrivener yourself, or if you're considering doing it in the future, or even if you're putting off writing a novel. This may help you. I mean, I've been putting off writing a novel for a long time. I've been working on a thing. It's 80,000 words, so technically it's a novel, but I keep putting it in and coming back to it. And for me, it's finding time. And time is the one thing we've all got. We've got 24 hours in a day, and I preach about this a lot, and I haven't been real good at taking my own advice. But what have I learned so far with NaNoWriMo? Well, right now, I'm up to almost 14,000 words, and it's been an incredible journey, incredible fun. I've forgotten how fun it is writing creative fiction. which is art. It's conjuring something out of nothing, and something with meaning. I hope it's got meaning for me. We'll see what happens next year if I get past the deadline, and well, my intention is to edit this thing and get it out there. But what have I learned so far? Well, NaNoWrimo is not a sprint, it's a marathon. You start off with lots of enthusiasm and you go for it, but I must admit, day 10, it's getting harder. And I'm probably not alone from what I've read on the NaNoWrimo blogs and their Twitter feed, which is a great resource if you're doing NaNoWrimo, and I recommend subscribing to their Twitter because there's some great motivational tips there to keep you going. But I'm basically pantsing it. And don't worry, dear listener, I've got pants on while I'm pantsing it. But basically, I had no idea what I was going to write when I took the decision to sign up and hop in. And pantsing it, being a musician myself, and I play guitar. I've played guitar in bands here and there, and lead guitar, which involves a bit of improvisation. I found it to be a bit like that. Like, you've learnt the basics, you've learnt the chops of writing, and you're able to give flight to all sorts of fancies once you just let your imagination go. Pantsing it really is like it's jazz for writing. It's getting in the flow, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. But I'm enjoying pantsing it. I've come up with I don't know where these stories come from, and I'll talk more about my actual story, what I'm working on at the moment. But it's almost like you tune into some other frequency, which is what creative writing is all about. And you know, it's great fun for me because I've basically built this online business around giving advice for writers in independent publishing and, you know, the business and marketing of publishing, and that skews more towards non-fiction. But I learnt my chops in fiction. I studied creative writing back in college, and I published a book of short stories called Beautiful Lies, which is up there on Amazon if you want to have a look. But I'm not here to flog my book, though. Please go and buy it. I love the royalties. Keeps me in beer. But I've rediscovered the importance of the flow, getting into the flow, and daily practice. And daily practice is really the only way you can get into the flow. I think I understand why people that have just started writing creative fiction tend to abandon it if they don't have a plan. You know, they might start off with a great flurry of excitement, and as life gets in the way and they don't find the time to continue, each time they go back to it, it's a bit like a dog going back to its vomiter, I suppose. You get less enthusiastic about going back to that work you were once enthusiastic about, if that makes sense. And it's really because you've lost the flow. To create a bit of creative fiction, and this is the whole point of NaNoWrimo, is just committing to 30 days to get a single draft out. And you don't need to worry about editing. You don't need to worry about much more than just committing your bum on a chair for a bit of time each day and getting that word count out, which is about 2,000 words per day. If you can keep that up for 30 days, you'll, on average, you'll hit the 50,000 word target. But Nanowrimo is much more about just hitting targets and having a regular writing habit, a regular daily habit when you're working on a new fiction project. You're basically conjuring something up. You're spinning a story. As Peter Carey, the Australian writer, puts it, you're telling beautiful lies. It's you're making something up. So you need to keep spinning that story, to be in the moment with that story. You need to have a ritual about it. You need to have, what am I trying to say? You need to be in the same place, same time each day, or even just daily, working on that story while the characters and the dialogue are fresh in your head. So when you come back to write some more in your story, you're sort of juggling it. You're plate spinning. It's still fresh in your head. And this is what goes wrong when people, and myself included, have tried to write long form stuff in the past, and you leave it for a week or a month, and you come back and it just seems flat. You find it very hard to get the enthusiasm to get back into it. And I've spoken about this before. You need a deadline to get a project finished, and NaNoWriMo just it hands you this deadline on a plate, doesn't it? Think about it. Every year, how many people out there listening, and I'll count myself. I've done this many times. January 1st, New Year's Eve resolution. Freudian slip there. You know what I mean. New Year's Eve resolution. You've got a few champagnes or beers or vodkas or bourbons or whatever in you. The fireworks are going off, and you realise you haven't quite got that novel out that you wanted to write. So you make the big New Year's resolution. This year, God damn it, I'm going to write that fucking book. I'm going to nail it. I'm going to get it out. You make a resolution. And what happens most of the time is, you get round to November, you suddenly realise Christmas and New Year's coming up. And you think about that book you made the New Year's resolution about. And you may have started something, but it long dribbled out. You haven't got round to it. What are you going to do? Make yet another New Year's resolution? Look at it through the prism of NaNoWriMo. You're committing for 30 days to write the first draft of your novel. So if you keep up the 2,000 words a day marathon, at the end of the 30 days, you've got a 50,000 word draft all ready for the new year. So you can start editing it. You can start taking it further. So for that reason alone, NaNoWriMo is just a wonderful motivational tool. And the big importance is consistency, writing daily. Stephen King says this in his book on writing, Stephen King on Writing, a memoir. And I'll quote, "I suggest 1,000 words a day. And because I'm feeling magnanimous, I'll also suggest that you can take one day a week off, at least to begin with, but no more. Because, and this is the important bit, because you'll lose the urgency and immediacy of your story if you do." I'll repeat that. If you don't write daily and you're making a story up, creating creative fiction, you need to write daily so you don't lose the urgency and immediacy of your story. And I've found that to be so true in NaNoWrimo, writing every day. It's, you're plate spinning, you're conjuring a story out of thin air, you're playing jazz with words. So when you come back to it the next day, some of those plates are still spinning in your head, and you're able to pick up on characters, characterizations, places, etc., that are much, much harder if you don't do it every day. So let's have another look at time management. I mean, the only way I've been able to squeeze in writing 2,000 words a day for NaNoWrimo 2016 is just having a very good look at how I manage my own time. And this is something you should do too. I mean, we've all got 24 hours in the day, don't we? And it's, without getting all cliched on you, it's really how you spend those 24 hours that makes a difference in what you get out of the day. So when I started NaNoWrimo, I had a look at how I was using my iPhone for social media. So one thing it shames me to say, but I'll bring it right out there. One of the first things I would do each morning is wake up about 6 a.m. And the first thing I do after reaching for a glass of water is reaching for my phone. And the first thing I do is look at Twitter, see if I had any more likes and follows or comments I'd follow up on. I'd then do the same with Facebook, see what was happening in the Facebook world. Then I'd check my email on the phone, and then I'd go back to the Twitter news feed to see what was happening in the world. And then I would get up out of bed about 6:30, 6:45. All in all, wasting about 40 minutes just scrolling through shit on my so-called smartphone. And let's hold that thought. Are they really smartphones, or are they just making us dumb phones? I mean, that's something I'd like to talk about in depth. I think they're dumb phones. Anyway, mine was making me dumber. So I just changed my ritual on the spot. So what I've been doing now with NaNoWrimo is I wake up at 6:30, and I just get straight out of bed, make a cup of coffee, plant my ass in front of the computer, and I don't get up until I've written 1,000 words. Bang! It takes about 30, 40 minutes, and I've already started the day with the knowledge that I've written 1,000 words, and that's great for your confidence as a writer, as a novel writer, and as churning through the NaNoWrimo project. So once I've got 1,000 words up, I'm able to get on with the rest of my business, doing all this stuff like podcasting, blogging, all the work around that, as well as a part-time job I hold down at the local theatre. I understand you've got time constraints too. Some of you have jobs, some of you don't. Even those with jobs, you can really do the same thing. If just put half an hour, 15, 20 minutes in at the start of the day, and it really energizes you and makes you feel confident that you can hit the goal. So at the other end of the day, my other guilty secret is Netflix. I bought an Apple TV and quickly got addicted to what I call the gateway drug, which was House of Cards, Kevin Spacey. But I find it it's a good way to de-stress after a long day, I just watch a bit of series television rather than watching commercial television. Now, that's another whole different type of black hole for writers. So what I do now, I don't even look at it. I write after dinner, I write my second 1,000 words. Again, I can, 40 minutes, 1 hour, bang. And then I'll use time after that to review what I've written for the day and review the story as a whole and just think where it's going to go. So I'm trying to live in the story each day as much as possible. I don't know if you're doing that as well. If you're in the Nanowrimo experiment, but that's what I recommend. Just as much as you can, dedicate a couple of hours a day to just being on top of the project, thinking about the project, but writing those words every day. If you can't manage 1,000 words in one sitting, we'll break it down. You can do 250 here, 250 there. Just 50 here, 100 there. Just when you can manage it, get it out there, make it consistent. Okay, that's time management. And I think we've spoken enough about that. Let's talk about tools. Scrivener. Who's using Scrivener? This show, of course, is sponsored by Scrivener. What is Scrivener? If you haven't used it, it's fantastic software that's been created by writers for writers. And I mean, it sounds like some great little marketing line, but it's actually quite true. The guys that put the software together a few years ago, a company called Literature and Latte Software, they actually are writers and software developers. And what they come up with is this wonderful software designed for writers, and it really does make it easier and fun to write. I don't know if you've ever tried to write a novel or anything creative in Microsoft Word. You quickly discover that once you get a very large document, it becomes very, very difficult to edit. Being a podcast medium, it's difficult to show you, but in Scrivener, you're able to sort out your chapters as a visual corkboard. So imagine a corkboard with index cards pinned to it. That's the visualization you get. You can actually drag your chapters around on a corkboard. But that's just one tiny thing that this software does. I mean, you can append notes and research to your chapters. So if you're digging into Wikipedia or Google and you find something relevant to your story, and it works just as well for nonfiction, you can append it to that chapter. Notes, photographs, internet links, you name it. So all the research around your book is at your fingertips. Literally, incredibly powerful. But the thing that I'm loving most about it in Nanowrimo is the character database. So when you create a new character, you literally just, select the character's name you just made up and typed, right-click, and you add to the character database, and straight away it pops up, and you can add all the attributes like their role in the story, their physical appearance, their mannerisms, etc., etc. So when you get to another part of the story and you want to bring a character up, and you must remember how difficult it is sometimes to recall some of the characters you conjure up, unless you're keeping track in a spreadsheet or on bits of paper or whatever. But with Scrivener, you just right-click, select characters, and there they all are. Bang, you bring it up. You can even remind yourself about their physical attributes and habits, etc. You can add to that. It's incredibly powerful, writing fiction. That's something Microsoft Word doesn't do. So there's just a couple of things about Scrivener. I'm a big fan. If you'd like to find out more and get your own copy, and you missed the ad at the front of the show, just go to ebookrevolution.com. Sorry, ebookrevolutionpodcast.com/Scrivener for Mac or /Scrivener for Windows, and you can find out all about it if you don't know much about it, and buy your own copy. And I hope you do. But it's not all about software. The other tool I use is a journal, particularly because I'm pantsing it. Creating on the spot, spinning plates, as we spoke before. But if you're pantsing your story, you need to sit down and reflect what's going on and what's going to happen next. And the best way to do that is to keep a story journal, and that's what I've been doing. So each night, I'll update my journal on what I've written during the day. I'll take some notes and have a think about where the story's going, what plot is evolving, whether I'm getting too fixated on one character over another. You can even discover through journal keeping you might even have the wrong protagonist, which happened to me early on. I had to change tack. But what a journal helps you do is just focus and reflect, because it's one thing planning your bum in a chair and churning out 2,000 words a day. And we can all do that and hit the 50,000 limit, but you've still got to have some idea where you're going to end up. And, NaNoWrimo, nobody's going to end up with a publishable book after 30 days, but everybody that gets to 30 days will have a draft. So you want to make that draft as... You want it to make as much sense as possible, and one way to help you make sense of it is just keep a journal. That's what I'm doing, and that's the advice I give to you. Just buy a notebook and spend a bit of time each night just reflecting on what you're up to and what your characters are doing, what they may do, where the story's going. Is it going good direction, bad direction? All that sort of stuff. A journal sort of teases out the left side of your brain, and you'll find you'll have a better pantsing experience doing that. So that's my advice to you. Use Scrivener. It'll make your life easier. Use a journal. Both those things are making my NaNoWrimo experience a bit more fun. So my story so far, it's amusing me no end. And I think if you're going to survive NaNoWrimo, you've got to be amused by what it is you're writing. And I'm certainly amused by what has come out of my id. I seem to be writing a story about 3 generations of Russians. That have 2 of them at least have ended up in Australia, and the youngest generation is involved in some nefarious wrongdoing, which is going to be his undoing. That's all I can say at this moment. I'm still working on the synopsis. The synopsis is evolving from my journaling. I'm still not quite sure where this crazy story is going. And that's the joy of NaNoWrimo, isn't it? Not knowing and discovering. And I'm certainly discovering, and I hope you are too. I hope my next update I'll be able to have more of a synopsis for you. I certainly, I need a synopsis to know where I'm going. But that's the joy of pantsing it, and not being a plotter. Maybe you're a plotter. Maybe you're a Harry Potter. You've got it all worked out, what you're doing. I'm going the jazz route. I'm just making it up as I go along, and so far I'm enjoying the ride. But the book is called Constant, and that's because the protagonist's name is Konstantin, and he's the youngest generation of these three generations of Russian immigrants: Ilya, Ivan, and Konstantin. But one thing I found that's a great motivational tool, and this may help you too, is actually create a cover for your book. And I did this in canva.com. You can do it for free. I created mine in about 5 minutes. Didn't put too much thought in it. Just grabbed one of their templates, created a cover. But having a cover makes this novel real in your mind. So it gives you something to write at and write towards through NaNoWrimo. So if you're finding some trouble with motivation, give that a go. Go to canva.com and create a free account, and just go to the book cover section, create a cover for your book. It's fun, doesn't take long. You can print it out, and it will keep you motivated. Certainly keeps me motivated. So that's my advice to you. That's my update from the trenches, from NaNoWrimo 2016, the 10th of November, day 10, 20 to go, 13,000 words in. It's an interesting experience, staying in the moment, coming back each day and revisiting these characters and pushing this story out. It's a bit like a soap bubble. I think anybody else that's doing NaNoWrimo would agree with me there. So not burnt out yet. I'm going to try and do one of these podcasts every 10 days, so probably I will get the next one in around 25,000 words, and then one more after that to wrap it all up on the 30 days, and hopefully I'm not a crazy mess in a pool by the end of it. Well, that's it for me. Just one more thing. If you are participating in NaNoWrimo, get involved with the community on nanowrimo.org, and if you're not already, follow their Twitter page, because there's some great motivational pep talks going on Twitter, and it's I found them uplifting and useful to me. Donald Trump, what can I say? I, for one, welcome our new orange leader. What can you do about it? You know, I've just decided to. He basically wasted a day of mine yesterday, and I'm not going to get upset about it. It is what it is, and let's just get on with our lives, get on with your writing, and don't get burnt out. Don't get burnt out by the news. Don't get burnt out by the writing. One more thing before I go. The Ebook Revolution podcast is brought to you by Madhouse Media Publishing, and I have a writers group on our Facebook page that you can join. It's a private group, but if you want to join a tribe of fantastic writers, we've got a few hundred in there already, everybody is of all different levels and expertise. There's beginners, there's people that have published books, but they've all got one thing in common, and that is they love writing, love sharing, and helping each other. The group's called Madhouse Writers, and if you pop over to the Madhouse Media Publishing website, which is www.madhousemedia.com.au, you'll see in the menu there's a button there. You can click Join Madhouse Writers, and that takes you to the Facebook group. That sounds like a long way around. You could also just go to Facebook and search groups Madhouse Writers and ask to join, and I'm the moderator. I'd love to have you on as well, because the more the merrier, and we've got a great group in there. It's a very active group. Come and join us, Madhouse Writers on Facebook. That's it for me. Hope you've enjoyed this special ebook revolution, 10 days in from NaNoWriMo. See you next time.